2-1 True Rock Ranch. That was where I was at that time. Loved it. Beautiful place. Very modern post. No more. When I leave a place, they close it. After a couple of months there, they assigned a sergeant to supervise the post supply depot. Well, it was against my personal policy to work Wednesday afternoon. So, in his first week there, Wednesday came up, and after lunch, I was not there. He comes storming over to the billets and starts yelling at me. "Why aren't you there? You're supposed to be working." And I just looked at him and says, "Oh, I don't like to work on Wednesday afternoon, so I don't." And so he goes and complains to the company commander, and the company commander asked, "Well, what did he say?" And he says, "I don't believe in working on Wednesday afternoon." And the company commander looked at him and said, "Okay, if he doesn't want to work, he doesn't have to work. That's his choice." By the way, I also had a buck slip that says sergeants could not yell at me, and I had pulled that out on him and showed him the note from the psychiatrist. "Don't yell at me. I don't like to be yelled at." Well, the next morning, I discovered my office had been moved under the stairwell in the gay billets. The reason they were called the gay billets is that particular company commander was a major and an Indian chief. And he thought discrimination against gays was what you call a white man's illness that didn't affect him. And so he just, as a matter of policy, let them all congregate in that building, where they would put up curtains, pictures, and in general made it quite at home. Definitely not military style. So in that little office, I handled post laundry, incoming, outgoing personnel records, and generally just check people in at night, made sure they had blankets and bedding and stuff like that. Well, the sergeant gave me strict orders. I only come down once a week and tell me what you're doing. He really didn't like me. I could sort of understand why. And about this time, my good friend Allan was sent to the post. He had successfully graduated out of Defense Language Institute. He was smart. He could party and he could learn. He was an intelligent person. But soon after he was there, he was caught shooting drugs. But I think it's the S3 or S2 officer made a mistake processing him, failed to distinguish between a shot he had received that day and the shots that he supposedly injected drugs. Well, in the Navy it's called the Judge Advocate Office, refused to prosecute him. In the Army, they just said, no, you don't have any legitimate basis. Plus, you failed to follow several civil rights procedures. So he was assigned to me, since I was one of the few jobs on post that did not require a security clearance. Now, he was fun to work with. He would sit on the corner of my desk some mornings and just howl at my lone light bulb that swung above my desk in that little closet there. He would be there sometimes, would be doing that on a Monday when the post would bring all their dirty laundry to me, and I would get it ready, shipment down to the cleaning plant down in San Francisco. So the post commander also bought his laundry by and had it done by us. He never said a thing. It was a good post commander. He just let it go. I sometimes had lunch with Allan and his crowd of friends. I was a friend, but not in the same league. And one of the persons in the group that would have lunch to us, who actually was Allan's sexual partner, mentioned that one day. He says, "Why do we have lunch with him? Don't you think he'd be suspicious? Or figure out what we're talking about? And Allan said, no, the only thing he wants to be is with me. He has no knowledge of anything. He's rather an innocent person, which is very true. I had no idea on some of this stuff. It just went right over my head, which is okay. Again, second time he was picked up, same officer, next morning he came, asked him where he threw the needle. And Allan said, well, I put it in the dumpster behind supply. So the major, being not very bright, told me and Allan to walk over there and get the needle. Well, that wasn't going to happen. No way, no how. One, I was afraid of needles. This was way before the days of AIDS. I was just afraid to be stuck. And Allan, of course, by this time was in his right mind, and he wouldn't have found it if it was staring at him, and he'd made double sure it was gone. Well, as long as Allan worked for me, he was okay because I sort of protected him. But one day he was assigned up to the kitchen KP duty, and that's when sort of ended there. He and his partner were assigned to clean the showers underneath the mess hall, which I didn't even know existed. Well, after an hour, the mess sergeant got to thinking, where did these two characters go? So he went down, and there in the shower, buck naked, soaped up, were the two having a gay old time. That's a good phraseology for it. Well, by this time, the post major had learned. He had given the MPs a written script, and they could only say off the script when they talked to Allan. And so this time there was no getting out of it. So he took a general discharge, which the same is basically the same right as an honorable, but it wasn't an honorable. But it wasn't bad conduct. And at the hearing, he revealed the fact that he had been on heroin since he had been 14, and he had made the money for the drug habit by being a street hustler in New York City. Now, one of the things that I do know about Allan, he had a 28-inch waist, and I imagine the heroin helped. The other thing that I do know, it convinced me that the drug policy in this country is so wrong. This was a medical condition. When he had heroin, he was as normal as you and me. Well, maybe even more normal than me. But he was okay. It was only when he was low on supplies and was running out that he would get a little erratic. From what I read, a lot of heroin addicts have a basic deficiency in their brain of certain chemicals, and that's why the opiates make them normal, but doesn't make them high. They show him high or lean back, but that was never him. He was just normal. But he left in a year past, really missed him, and then I was assigned to another new post, Shemya, Alaska, and I will tell you about that a little later. Thank you.